Hi, I'm Josh Christoffersen, and today I'll be doing my recorded slide presentation for first year seminar. Today I'll be looking at the perspective, evidence, and conclusions of two different books, both looking at the ideas of origins of the universe and God. The first book we'll be looking at today is The Grand Design. This book is by Stephen Hawking and Leonard Mlodinow. Many people know Stephen Hawking. He is the longest living ALS patient. He was a theoretical physicist, cosmologist, and author. Mlodinow is a little less known, however. He is a theoretical physicist, screenwriter, and author. The book The Grand Design was written mainly by Mlodinow using mainly Hawking's ideas. This book looks at the origin of the universe and looks at how science is quote-unquote making the need for God go away. The next book we'll be looking at is God and Stephen Hawking, Whose Design Is It Anyways, by John Lennox. Lennox is a mathematician, philosopher of science, and Christian apologist. His book is written in response to the Grand Design and points out flaws in that book. The first thing we'll be looking at today is perspective. Perspective is defined as a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something. In the Grand Design, there are a few different signs of perspective. The first perspective is that everything is chance, and there is no purpose or reason to anything. Nothing happens for a reason, and everything just kind of happens. The next perspective in the Grand Design is that humans are lucky to be alive. Because nothing happens for a reason, it's just luck that everything worked out the way it did so that humans are the way they are. The final perspective we can see in the Grand Design is that there is no God. Hawking believes that there is no God, and with the increase in science and modern technology, there is no longer a need for a God. The perspective in Lennox's God and Stephen Hawking is very, very different than the perspective in the Grand Design. First off, Lennox believes that God does exist. He also believes that God is all-powerful and can do whatever he would like, that God did create humans, and he created them for a reason, and that God is at work in the universe currently. Personally, I agree with Lennox. I believe that God does exist, and I believe in an all-powerful, omnipresent God. I believe God did create Earth and everything in it, including humans, and he created them for a reason. I believe God is at work right now, working through me and everybody else. The next thing we'll be taking a look at is evidence. Evidence is defined as the available body of facts indicating whether an idea is true or valid. Both the Grand Design and God and Stephen Hawking were written by mathematicians or scientists, so they rely heavily on experts and data as forms of evidence. However, these two did differ in the fact that Lennox used stories more, where Hawking and Mlodinow used visuals more. The experts used in the Grand Design were very good and included people like Kepler and Newton. The data used in the Grand Design was incredible. There was a lot of data used. And the visuals used in the Grand Design were all used in reference with that data. They were used either as a way to describe the data or to show the data, make it a little easier for us to understand. And the visuals in this book were really well done, and they really helped to understand the idea. Lennox's evidence, he used experts' data, but he used stories. He used experts including Einstein and, wouldn't you know it, even Stephen Hawking himself. He used data, but not quite as much as Hawking and Mlodinow did in the Grand Design. And he used stories. He mainly used stories in direct response to Stephen Hawking. He would quote something Stephen Hawking wrote in his book, and then use a story to prove how Stephen Hawking was wrong. Who do I believe had the stronger evidence? I believe Lennox did. Both authors used incredible use of experts as a form of evidence. They chose very well-known experts, and even though they chose more than just the two I mentioned for each, the ones they chose all still had PhDs and were trustworthy sources. However, I believe Stephen Hawking relied too heavily on data. Data is good, especially in a science or math paper, but not when it relates to the idea of creation and God. Data can't be all you back up your idea on. I believe that's where Lennox did good, using stories more, unlike Stephen Hawking. The stories were good because they showed true accounts of Lennox being right and Hawking being wrong. The final thing we'll be looking at in these two books is conclusions. Conclusions are defined as judgments or decisions reached by reasoning. The main two conclusions reached in the grand design were that there is no God and that there is no need for a God. They believe that there is no God because everything can be explained with science, and they believe that there is no need for a God because there is no need to make up ideas about gods when you have science to explain everything. The two main conclusions drawn in John Lennox's God and Stephen Hawking were very different than the conclusions in the grand design. They were that there is a God and that Stephen Hawking is wrong. Lennox believes that there is a God because he is a Christian, and he believes that Stephen Hawking's book is wrong because God and Stephen Hawking was written in response to Stephen Hawking's book. My personal conclusions are that I agree with Lennox. This is biased, however, as I was born and raised a Christian, so it's what I'm used to. I believe that there is a God and that he is here, he's omnipresent, he's at work, and we need his help in our life to guide our lives. Here's my works cited for the pictures up above. Thank you.